Power-back operations on specific types of aircraft and specific airports has proven to be a safe, effective means for a ramp departure. Powerbacks consume less time than a conventional pushback. This film will show the correct procedures to be used during powerback operations. The definition of powerback is that after engine start, the captain will use a reversed thrust procedure to back out of the gate without the aid of pushback equipment. If it is determined for any reason that a powerback cannot be accomplished, the station should be alerted to allow sufficient time to position pushback equipment in order to avoid departure delays. To perform a powerback, the flight crew must be qualified. The signal person must be qualified. In order to achieve qualification, the captain, first officer, second officer, and the signal person must read the appropriate manual sections, be familiar with its contents, and receive the FAA-approved training program. In addition to these requirements, the aircraft type must be approved for powerback operation. The airport and specific gate must be approved for powerback. Headphones should be used during the engine start procedure, but will be disconnected prior to the actual powerback. When ready to begin the powerback sequence, the ground crew will establish communication with the cockpit for engine start.
Ground to cockpit.
Cockpit to ground, go ahead.
Request permission to remove chocks for powerback.
Okay, brakes are set. You can remove the chocks.
Chocks removed, clear to start engines.
Clear to start.
Clearance for engine start and powerback, if applicable, should be requested at this time by the first officer. After engine start, the after-start checklist should be accomplished. Prior to initiating the powerback, the first officer on the Boeing 737 should ensure that the air conditioning packs are off and that the APU bleed valve is closed. On the Boeing 727, the flight engineer should make sure that the number 2 bleed switches are closed and that the pack switches are off. After the powerback is complete, the air conditioning and pressurization will need to be reconfigured for the appropriate situation.
We're ready for powerback. It's okay to disconnect.
Ready for powerback, disconnecting.
After engine start and headphone disconnect, standard hand signals will be used. The signal person will be positioned ahead of the aircraft and to the captain's left, a sufficient distance to ensure that the captain can easily see him or her. Flaps and slats on the aircraft should remain fully retracted during the powerback to permit the signal person an unobstructed view under the aircraft. The signal person is responsible for the ramp operation during the powerback. He or she must ensure that adequate clearance are maintained throughout the entire planned powerback operational area. The signal person will utilize additional assistance as required to assure a safe operation at all times. The signal person will also be responsible for ensuring that no aircraft on an adjacent gate will be moving in or out at the same time the powerback is in progress. The captain will initiate the powerback by pulling all reverse thrust levers to the idle detent. It is important to hold brakes until both engines are in idle reverse to prevent forward movement. The captain should monitor the signal person continuously, with the first officer monitoring power which is not to exceed 75% N2. In some cases, it may be necessary to move forward a few inches prior to reversing. This could be due to tire flat spots, wheel chocks, and so on. Usually, idle reverse or slightly above idle reverse should be sufficient to generate reverse movement. For any normal or emergency stop, or if reverse speed is excessive, come out of reverse quickly. This should bring the aircraft to a stop. If necessary, use forward thrust until the aircraft stops, then apply brakes. A word of caution: do not use brakes while the aircraft is moving in reverse. Once the aircraft has started the power back, placing your feet on the floor instead of on the rudder pedals will help preclude the use of brakes during the power back operation. There should be minimal need for any steering correction during the power back. If steering is necessary, use the nose steering wheel. Power back turns are authorized except as noted in the restrictions as outlined in the operation specification section of the route manual. If a turn is required, turn the nose wheel steering in the direction of the down-pointed hand. All reversers must be operative on the aircraft to be used during a power back. In the event of a thrust reverser failure while moving rearward during power back operations, use forward thrust on the opposite engine as necessary to stop rearward motion. During nighttime operations, signal wands will be used for appropriate hand signals. Power backs will not be used when the ramp is contaminated with ice, snow, slush, sand, or any debris that would present a threat of engine ingestion. Power backs require constant vigilance from the flight crew and ground crew to ensure a safe operation.